for bringing us into your presence again this morning. It's a privilege we do not take for granted. Father, in this hour of your word, we ask, O God, you will speak unto our hearts in the name of Jesus. Father, at the very point of our needs, you will reach out to us through this message in the name of Jesus. We ask that every heart here seated this morning will be receptive to your word in the name of Jesus. And by this word, our lives will be transformed. Our lives will be translated. Our lives will be renewed. Our lives will be strengthened. We commit the vessel you're going to use unto you. Lord, she will speak according to your will. And your name alone will remain glorified. In Jesus' wonderful name, we have prayed.
Thank you so much, sir. So good morning, everyone. They said it's the youth service. But I know we still have some of our mamas and our babas in the church. So, media, I'm going to ask you to do one or two things for me this morning. I may be asking you not to just read from New King James Version, but from other version of the Bible. So please just be ready. Okay. So our topic today is making wealth God's way. Making wealth God's way. You know, I didn't say money. I didn't say money. So I need us to understand that there's a difference between wealth and money. And our main Bible verse for today is Proverbs 10:22. Media, Proverbs 10:22. I want it in the New King James Version. Okay, like I said, wealth is different from money. I think most of us, more times, we believe that money is wealth. Okay. But the funny thing about it is that money is just a form of wealth. But wealth is not just money. Aside from wealth, your wealth includes both monetary things and non-monetary wealth. Your education is part of your wealth. The skill you have is part of your wealth. Your relationships are part of your wealth. You know, you could actually have a net worth that is so much more than the money you actually have in your bank. Part of your wealth is good health. Part of your wealth is even your values as an individual. Your value may be integrity. That's part of your wealth. Your value may be honesty. Your value may be you are a God-fearing person. I know most of us that do the 9 to 5, you know, most of our companies will say this is their values and these are their mission. They would have a mission statement, they would have a vision statement, and then they would also have values. So media, please go back to that same Proverbs 10:22. It says, God is the one that giveth wealth without that maketh rich, and he added no sorrow to it. And that's what relates to our topic of today, making wealth God's way. One of the things I had to research when my Oga said, Olaide, you are the one speaking, we are the one God is going to use today, I had to go and do certain research. I had to check people that won lottery in the United States. And I had to go and check how their life has been after they won the lottery. And my research shows that 70% of them are actually broke after a few years after winning the lottery.
Nǹkan tí mo dẹ̀ àfojúsùn mi sì mú jáde pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú wọn lẹ́yìn ìgbà tán ṣetán fún ìgbà díẹ̀ wọ́n di pé wọn ò lówó mọ́.
There were only about a few of them that were able to invest that money and to be able to make wealth from that money.
Díẹ̀ nínú wọn ló fi owó náà ṣe ohun tó dára tí ó di pé wọ́n wá di ọlọ́rọ̀ nípa rẹ̀.
It tells us that we need to understand that making wealth God's way is really the best that can sustain us. And like I said again, not money, it is wealth. Money is part of wealth, but there are other things also embedded in being wealthy.
Èyí fi yé wa wípé láti máa ní ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run òun ló jẹ́lẹ̀ tó lè gbé wa débi tó dá ọ̀rọ̀ kì í dẹ̀ ṣe owó.
As an accountant, I know my sister with me is an accountant, so I'm sorry I'm going to say some words that maybe only the accountant would understand.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí oníṣirò owó àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ kan wà tí màá sọ nípa ti ọ̀nà tèmi.
When we want to do statement of financial position, which is actually the balance sheet of an individual, what is your net worth? How wealthy are you? How wealthy are you? I hope you were able to understand.
Nígbà tá a bá fẹ́ ṣe ìṣirò tí mo fẹ́ wò nípa asset àti liability.
Exactly.
Ìgbékalẹ̀ pé báwo ni mo ṣe ná owó ibi tí mo fi owó sí rèé.
When we are preparing your statement of financial position, we just don't look at the money you have in the bank.
Nígbà tí mo bá ń ṣe ìṣirò tí mo ń ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ mi ò kí ń wo owó tó wà ní ìfowópamọ́ nìkan.
We look at the assets that you have.
Mo wo àwọn nǹkan tí mo fi owó rà àwọn ètò àwọn nǹkan gidi tí mo fi
Your
owó rà.
asset could be your car, your asset could be your house, your asset could be other things that you currently have.
Àwọn ohun ìní náà lè jẹ́ mọ́tò ó lè jẹ́ ilé tí mo kọ́.
We look also at your current assets.
Mo wo àwọn tí ohun ìní jẹ́ pé nípa
You
ọdún
can
kan
easily turn it.
tá lè tètè yí padà sí owó.
And your current asset for someone that actually manufactures maybe your stock. But your fair manufacturer, let's say now that I'm a tailor today and I have zip, I have thread, I have lining. Those are part of my stock. They are things that I've bought and I will use it to turn to something else. So those ones are really part of my stock and part of my assets that I have.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó ń ránṣọ zip òwú tí mo máa lò sórí aṣọ ó jẹ́ àwọn ohun ìní láti fi powó wọlé.
So those are some of the things we look at. Even the money I've saved, I've kept in the bank in terms of fixed assets or the shares that I've bought. You know, I was saying it somewhere when MTN brought out their shares. I think it was 2 years ago. I had to tell my children, I said, you need to buy these shares. And the minimum investment, I think, was 5,000 naira.
Nígbà tí MTN bẹ̀rẹ̀ nípa ti ètò ìṣúná wọn ní ọdún méjì sẹ́yìn mo sọ fún àwọn ọmọ mi pé àwọn á rà nínú èyí tí MTN ń ṣe.
Some of us were lucky we had bought MTN shares years back before they went public.
Àwa kan á ti rà ní ti MTN kó tó di pọ́n wá síta.
And I can tell you that the dividend I've gotten on that MTN share that I've bought is so much more than the money that I've actually invested in MTN.
Owó tí mo ti pa láti pa tí mo rà nínú shares wọn ó ti ju eléyìí tí mo fi síbẹ̀ lọ.
We are talking about your assets, please.
À ń sọ nípa ohun ìní.
Okay, so I said buy MTN shares. I think it was only my son that bought. My ladies refused to buy. And they all got money for Christmas.
Mo ní pé àpẹ kan ra ti shares MTN ọmọkùnrin mi nìkan ló rà àwọn obìnrin ò rà.
And I can tell you today that that thing is almost like 3 times, 4 times its value as when he bought it 2 years ago and what we currently have
Mo sì
today.
lè sọ dájú pé nísìnyí ó jẹ́ bí lọ́pọ̀ mẹ́ta sí mẹ́rin ju owó tó rà nígbà náà.
Those are part of your assets.
Ohun tó jẹ́ ohun tí ó jẹ́ ohun ìní.
So what then are your liabilities?
Kí wá lé ohun tó jẹ́ bí gbèsè bí ohun tí kò ṣe tiẹ̀.
Olaide has gone to borrow money from the bank.
Mo ti lọ yáwó ní ilé ìfowópamọ́.
Maybe the money I borrowed, I would use it I won't say jackpot, but I've used it to flange. I had a party, but I've gone to borrow money to have a very big party, a wedding. Not the way we are now. We want to have a very big hall, want to do a lot of things, and I've gone to borrow money to have that party. And unfortunately for me, what spray me was not enough to cover my liability.
Mo ti lọ yá owó nílé ìfowópamọ́. Mo fẹ́ fi ṣe ìgbéyàwó. Mo fẹ́ fi ṣe party. Ó wá ṣe ní láàánú pé owó tán wá ná mi kò tiẹ̀ wá ká owó tí mo yá.
Like I said, we are talking about the net worth of an individual.
Bí a ṣe ń sọ nípa bí o ṣe ohun tó fi jẹ́ iye lé lórí.
There are some people, some of the parts of the assets are intangible assets.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ohun ìní ẹlòmíì ó jẹ́ ohun tí a kò lè fojú rí.
When you say intangible, it be maybe what is your net worth, your relationship. But I will not say that. If I say it in accounting terms, some of us are built. There's a company I'm consulting for now. What they do is to build software for HR.
tá bá sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ohun tí a kò fojú rí tó jẹ́ ohun tí a nílò ó lè jẹ́ àwọn tó rọ̀gbà yí wa ká tí ó ju iye owó lọ.
So they are building a software that is an intangible asset.
Mo ní company kan tí mo ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ ń sìn build software, I don't know what that is.
That's fine. So they have that, they are building that software, is an intangible asset for them because they've spent money to build it. They've gotten people and they are also paying AWS. I know, bro, let me do what I'm trying to say. They're also paying the AWS cost and various other things for infrastructure cost for them to be able to have that intangible asset. All right. So now I'm looking at what is their net worth.
That's
their asset less their total liability. So that is the wealth that we are talking about. And I will quickly talk because I have a very limited time. My Oga has given me time and I try as much as possible. So I'll talk about 8 principles of making wealth God's way. They are all biblical principles, please. I think the first thing you need to understand that God is the source. Media, can you go to Deuteronomy 8 verse 18?
Deuteronomy
He said, God gives power to produce wealth. You know, he gave everybody different talents. Some people can, I was saying it somewhere, my sister can sew a dress with needle and thread. My sister, my blood sister, she can sew a dress for you just using thread and a needle. Some of us cannot even tack. To tack, for some of us, we will tack and then the thread will show you. But when it comes to maths, if my sister says, I want to pay my staff salary for 1 month, and she came in on the 13th of the month, she couldn't calculate what she was going to pay that staff. She had to come and say, Auntie me, this is the amount I want to pay my staff. How much will she get as salary? She has only worked for 17 days. So we need to understand that God is the source of wealth. You need to understand that the basis of your wealth should be, the foundation should actually be God. Philippians 4:19 says that he will supply all my needs, not my want. All my needs. Philippi orí ìkẹrin ẹsẹ̀ kọkàndínlógún wípé Olúwa yóò pèsè fún gbogbo àìní mi. Olúwa pèsè. It is not me. He's going to provide, kì í ṣe èmi. And then what he has said is going to provide for are my needs, not my wants. Ohun tí yóò sì pèsè ni ohun tó jẹ́ ohun tí mo nílò gan-an. My wants today could be I want to have a jet and I want to be able to fly anywhere in the world. Ohun tí mo ṣe àìní rẹ̀ ó lè jẹ́ pé bí mo fẹ́ ra mọ́tò àbí mo fẹ́ kúrò nílùú. Mi ò ra mọ́tò. I'm saying that my jet, I want to have a jet. Mo fẹ́ ní bàálù tó ń fò lókè. That is a want. Ó jẹ́ bí àìní. But is it what I need? Ṣùgbọ́n ṣó jẹ́ ohun tí mo nílò. Some of us go after our wants and forget our needs. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan tí kò nílò nísinsìnyí là ń lé. And he says we are making wealth God's way. And the way we are, social media has even spoiled everything for us now. Sure you understand? Social media has even spoiled everything for us now. Because now you see everybody, I bought this house, I spent 250 million, I got this, Big Brother All-Star, 120 million, different things up and down, and then you're asking yourself, if they are making wealth this way, what is stopping me from making wealth that way too? And that takes me to the second principle. And that is diligence. That is diligence. It said, diligent in all God has committed into your hands. Proverbs 22 verse 29, Media, New King James Version.
Ìwé òwe orí kejìlélógún ẹsẹ̀ kọkàndínlọ́gbọ̀n.
Please, I'm waiting for that because I want to read something out from that particular verse. Okay, all right. So that's fine. You said that I will not stand before mere men.
Ó ní èmi kì yóò dúró níwájú àwọn ènìyàn
I
lásán.
will not stand before ordinary men.
Èmi kì yóò
Unknown men.
Èmi kì yóò dúró níwájú àwọn ènìyàn lásán.
As much, no, I said Proverbs 22 verse 29. I will not stand before in your yekpere. That's the way I say it. Please go ahead, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. He said he will not stand before unknown men, people that in your yekpere, because he's diligent in what God has committed into his hand.
Nítorí pé ó ń ṣe déédéé ní nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run fi lé lọ́wọ́, kò ní dúró níwájú àwọn ènìyàn yẹpẹrẹ, yóò dúró níwájú àwọn ọba.
I will quickly say a story,
Wọ́n sọ ìtàn kékeré kan,
but it's really what happened to me.
ó jẹ́ ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí mi.
I think it was in April. I wanted to take a very cogent, I want to take a very big decision in the month of April.
Mo nílò láti ṣe ohun kan tó ṣe pàtàkì.
And I remember I told my husband, and everybody was like, Olaide, are you sure? Everybody was a bit worried about my decision.
Ohun tí mo fẹ́ ṣe, àwọn ènìyàn ń wò pé ṣé ohun tí mo fẹ́ ṣe ṣó dá mi lójú bí?
You know, at times people will say that, am I mad?
Ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà míì wọ́n á bèrè pé ṣé o wà dáadáa ṣá?
But I took that decision because I knew that was the next step for me to take.
Mo sì ṣe ìpinnu yìí torí mo mọ̀ pé òun ló jẹ́ ohun tó jẹ́ ìpele tó yẹ kí n ṣe.
You know, when they say do it afraid, that's what I did in the month of April. I did it afraid.
Nínú oṣù kẹrin yẹn mo ṣe bó ti jẹ́ pé ẹ̀rù ń bà mí.
And some of my people that really know my decision actually knows what I did. I did it afraid. Took that decision in the month of April.
Ọ̀pọ̀ àwọn tó mọ̀ nípa ìpinnu yìí ló mọ̀ pé ìgbà tí mo ṣe ẹ̀rù ń bà mí.
You know, and then I left it up to God. But one thing that God did was that because of that diligence, you know, the funny thing is that people are the one that will say, oh, Olaide, we need you to do this for us. Olaide, we need you to do that for us. Olaide, we want you to do this for us. Olaide wants to do that for us. When I was taking that decision, I never thought it was going to be that way. But maybe because of the diligence of what I had gone through, people know that you are diligent in what you do. Now they're saying, Olaide, please come and do it for us.
Nípa ìṣedéédéé wọn nínú ohun tí wọ́n tọ́lọ́run fi lé wọn lọ́wọ́ nígbà tí wọ́n fi máa ṣe gbogbo ìpinnu náà tán ó wá dì sí àwọn èèyàn ń béèrè pé wá bá mi ṣe yìí wá bá mi ṣe tọ̀hún.
You know, the funny thing I've learned is that when you are diligent, people would refer you.
Ohun tí mo mọ̀ tí mo tó dá mi lójú ni pé tó bá ń ṣe déédéé nínú iṣẹ́ rẹ àwọn èèyàn á máa wá bá ẹ.
People would go out of your way. They would not care the amount of money they're going to spend. They would spend it with you because you are giving them value.
Àwọn èèyàn ò ní wo iye owó tó fẹ́ ná láti bá ọ ṣiṣẹ́ wọ́n á bá ọ ṣiṣẹ́ nítorí pé o ṣe déédéé nínú iṣẹ́ rẹ.
So my dear sister and my brother,
arábìnrin mi arákùnrin mi.
You want to make wealth God's way? Are you diligent?
O fẹ́ ní ọrọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run ṣé ìwọ ń ṣe déédéé?
When they commit a child to you as a teacher that you should teach, are you really giving it all? You know, one thing I've learned is that we're not serving people, we're actually serving God.
Nígbà tó bá fi ọmọ lé ọ lọ́wọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí olùkọ́ ṣé ìwọ ń ṣe déédéé? Nǹkan tí ó dá mi lójú ni pé kì í ṣe ènìyàn là ń ṣe fún Ọlọ́run là ń ṣe fún.
And we don't really know that people are looking at us.
Nǹkan tó yẹ ká dá wa lójú pé àwọn èèyàn ń wò wá.
I got a job in 2019.
Mo ṣe alábàápàdé iṣẹ́ kan ní 2019.
And it was someone I had worked with years before that just called me up. Olaide, I need your CV.
Èèyàn kan tí mo sì bá ṣiṣẹ́ lọ́dún mélòó sẹ́yìn ló pè mí pé kí n fi CV mi ránṣẹ́.
And then, you know, when she called me, I said, Olaide, I need your CV. I was like, okay, Funke, why would you want to call me to come into this position for this company?
Ó sì pè mí, Láìdé mo máa fẹ́ ìwé rẹ̀ fi ránṣẹ́ sí mi. Mo sì bèrè lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, kí ló ń dì tó fi nílò rẹ̀?
I know what she said, Olaide, if it's my company, I would want you to come into that position to work with me.
Ó sì sọ fún mi pé tó bá jẹ́ ilé iṣẹ́ tèmi náà ni màá fẹ́ kí o wá kó wá bá mi ṣiṣẹ́.
And I said, even if they don't pick me for that position, because we also had to go through the interview process, I said, because of this, my friend, I would make sure that I give it all the best I can give because of the recommendation, because of what she has even told me herself.
Àti ẹ̀pọ̀ tá a lọ fún iṣẹ́ náà, mo sì sọnù ọkàn mi pé torí pé ọ̀rẹ́ mi pè mí, torí pé ó mọ iyì iṣẹ́ mi, màá fi gbogbo ohun tó ń jẹ́ tinú mi, màá fi ṣe iṣẹ́ náà dáradára.
You know, most of us are gata or God or Olaruwa pe. You know that now. You understand what I mean by that? We are salary earners. So whether we like it or not, at the end of the month, my oga will pay me. So why do I need to be diligent?
ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú wa àti ṣe déédéé nínú iṣẹ́ ó kò rọ̀ wá lọ́rùn wa kì í fẹ́ torí ká mọ̀ pé owó oṣù náà ní níparí oṣù.
So one thing we need to understand is that hard work and consistent effort is necessary to make wealth.
Nípa ṣíṣe déédéé nípa títara sí iṣẹ́ ó nílò láti ní ọrọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run.
You know, it took me a while to understand that work was not a punishment.
Ó pẹ́ kí n tó ní òye pé iṣẹ́ ò kì í ṣe ìbáwí.
Because, you know, it was like God sent them out to go and work after they had sinned in the Garden of Eden, based on what we read in Genesis.
Nípa bí tí a kà nínú ìwé Genesis lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí wọ́n ṣe Ọlọ́run rán wọn jáde láti lọ ṣiṣẹ́.
But I have also learned, and it's been years before I understood, because for me, I always thought that wahala nishe, work was too much wahala. Maybe because of some places I've also worked where it was like, it was very, you understand, it was very, very tedious. So the thought was that work was a punishment. But I've also learned, I've also learned that work is really a privilege.
Ó pẹ́ kó tó yé mi pé iṣẹ́ ò kì í ṣe ìbáwí, iṣẹ́ jẹ́ bí àǹfààní láti sin ẹlòmíì.
So we need to understand that as part of making wealth God's way, we have to be diligent in whatever God has committed into our hands.
Jẹ́ kí ó yé wa ní òwúrọ̀ yìí pé láti ní ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run, ó yẹ kí a ṣe déédéé ní gbogbo ohun tí Ọlọ́run ti fi sí wa lọ́wọ́.
That takes me to the third principle.
Èyí mú wa lọ sí òfin kẹta.
He said, live within or below your means and save.
Ó ní kí a gbé nípa ohun tí a ní kí a sì máa tọ́jú owó.
You know, I'll say something here. I'm sure some people know, some people don't know. There was a time that I was owing 3 microfinance banks. And I'm being honest.
Ẹlòmíì mọ̀ ọmọ. So onígbà kan tí mo jẹ àwọn bíi báńkì mẹ́ta lówó.
So anytime my salary is coming in, you understand the way it is already, part of it is already out.
Nígbà tí owó oṣù bá wọlé, ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀nù ẹ̀ ló tiẹ̀ ti bọ́ta.
The debit card that you have today, my debit card was a debit card, it was also a credit card for me.
Káàdì owó tó wà lọ́wọ́ mi, ó jẹ́ ti ká yọ owó, ó jẹ́ ti ká fi owó sí.
So if I finish spending the money I have in my account, I could draw down on using that same card. So that same ATM card that you and I have, mine then was that if there's 0 naira in my account, I could use that same card to get as much as a certain amount of money.
Káàdì tó wà lọ́wọ́ mi ńgbà yẹn, mo lè fi mú bí ó ti jẹ́ pé bóyá mo ní pé kò sí kankan nínú ìṣòwò fowópamọ́ mi, mo sì ní àǹfààní sí owó.
So we need to understand, live within or below your means so that you can also save.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì pé ká máa gbé nínú ohun tí ó jẹ́ tiwa ká sì tọ́jú owó.
It took a while for me. You know, you will look at it, Olaide is a finance person. She should know better now.
A sì máa wò pé ẹni tó ń bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ó jẹ́ èèyàn tó mọ̀ nípa ìṣúná owó, so yẹ kó mọ̀ dáadáa nípa ẹ̀.
But we need to understand that we make mistakes along the ways for us to be able to have opportunity to have this kind of conversations.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì pé kí a mọ̀ pé a máa ní ìkùnà nígbà tí a bá ń lọ, ṣùgbọ́n ohun tó ṣe pàtàkì pé ká mú ohun pàtàkì kúrò nínú ìkùnà náà.
I was in that stage for certain years.
Mo wà nínú ilé fún ọ̀pọ̀ ọdún.
And I always say that God is really a merciful God and is also the source of anyone's wealth.
Mo sì máa ń sọ pé Ọlọ́run jẹ́ aláàánú, òun sì ní ìpìlẹ̀ ọrọ̀.
And I remember I came to see, Baba had joined us then, and then we had one revival, and I think I didn't come for the revival, and they said we have to have a prayer. It was Brother that told me that day, when I was, after finishing singing Baba, and said, we have to come to the altar and have a prayer from 12 that day. I don't know, there was a particular revival that we had, and the revivalist said that at 12 noon, that we must all be in front of the altar to come and pray and ask God for what we wanted.
Ó sì ṣe ìpàdé kan, mo wá rí bàbá náà ní pé ká wá síwájú láti aago 12 ọ̀sán láti wá béèrè nǹkan tá a bá fẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run.
I'm talking about living within your means or below your means and also saving.
Mo ń sọ nípa pé ká máa gbé nípa ohun tí a ní, a sì máa tọ́jú owó.
But I'm also linking that to God as the source of your wealth.
A sì ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa pé kí a máa wo Ọlọ́run gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìpìlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ wa.
I remember that day I lied down here and all my prayer was that God, you need to sort out my finances.
Mo sọ lọ́jọ́ yẹn, mo dùbúlẹ̀ níbí, mo sì ń sọ fún Ọlọ́run, Olúwa bá mi ṣe ti ètò ìṣúná mi, bá mi dá sí.
It didn't make sense. There was nobody I could talk to. I'm chartered, I'm a fellow, I've been doing finance all my life, and then Olaide, you have debt that is actually hanging on to you.
kò sẹ́ni tí mo fẹ́ bá sọ̀rọ̀, mo sì jẹ́ ẹni tó mọ̀ nípa ètò ìṣúná owó, mo ní gbèsè lọ jẹ́ àǹtírẹ́rẹ́, kò sẹ́ni tí mo fẹ́ bá sọ̀rọ̀, kò sì yé mi.
And that's why that takes me to my next principle, which is keep out of debt.
Èyí ló wá mú mi lọ sí ìkẹrin pé kí a má ṣe jẹ́ ẹni tó máa mú gbèsè dání.
You want to make what God's way, do not get into debt that are not actually giving you back money. That are not actually yielding back interest or interest or dividend.
Nípa níní ọrọ̀ ní ti Ọlọ́run, ká má jẹ́ ẹni tí ó kúndùn gbèsè.
He said you need to keep off debt and avoid the debt trap.
Ká má ṣe jẹ́ ẹni tí gbèsè rọ̀ lọ́rùn.
That's why after God sorted out my finances, it was even the way God did it till today. Even I find it amazing. I know that when Esther, we didn't mention God in the book of Esther, but we could see the invisible hand of God. For that was God's invisible hand, and He did it that was even so much more beyond my own expectation.
Nínú ìwé Ẹ́sítérì, a ò sọ̀rọ̀ nípa Ọlọ́run rárá ń bẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n a rí ọwọ́ àìrí Ọlọ́run. Bí ọwọ́ àìrí Ọlọ́run ṣe dá sí ètò ìṣúná mi, ó ju òye tèmi gan lọ.
I'll always tell people now, keep out of debt.
Mo máa ń sọ fún àwọn ènìyàn, máa ń gbà wọ́n ní ìyànjú pé má ṣe jẹ́ ẹni tí gbèsè rọ̀ lọ́rùn, má ṣe jẹ́ ẹni tó ń wọnú gbèsè.
When He's not going to yield you any dividend or any income or anything, there's no need going into it.
Kò sí àǹfààní tí gbèsè mú wá.
Especially when you're now getting debt to now do ashwebi, to now, the way now, I'll do ashwebi. Ashwebi is like, some people will tell me, ashwebi is, okay, I think one of my neighbors will tell me, ashwebi is 40K and everything. I said, don't worry, ejoloni gele nikon, mara gele nikon, said gele 7,000, I am fine with that.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀nù wa máa gba gbèsè láti ṣe pàtí láti ra aṣọ ẹbí.
And we don't understand that, the one thing I've learned is that the 10 kobo, the 10 naira, the 20 naira, the 5 naira you are spending is actually draining your finances.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀nù wa kò sì yé wa pé owó 5 kobo 10 kobo tá à ń ná ó wà lára nǹkan tó jẹ́ kí ká lé ìkójọ.
And then in keeping out of debt is Proverbs 22 verse 7, New King James Version. If anybody can see that, please actually read it.
Ìwé orí kejìlélógún ẹsẹ̀ keje.
All right. So if nobody is reading, let me just continue. The fifth principle, because I'm already behind time. The fifth principle is contentment.
Ọ̀nà karùn-ún ó jẹ́ ìtẹ́lọ́rùn.
I will tell you that there's nothing, and I say it again, there's nothing as good as being contented with what you have.
Mo fẹ́ fi yé wa pé ó dára pé kí a ní ìtẹ́lọ́rùn ní ohun tí a bá ní.
I have a friend, my friend told me she left paid employment and started her own business.
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi kan sọ fún mi pé wọ́n fi ibi
She
iṣẹ́.
left, I knew. She left paid employment and started
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi
her
kan
own
wà, ó
business.
kúrò ní iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ti ń sanwó, ó sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe iṣẹ́ tara rẹ̀.
And she said it was what God had told her, and she continued in it. And then she was there for like 6, 4, 5 months, 1 year plus. And then she started feeling discontented. And the very first thing was she saw people driving the big cars. So she was seeing the Land Cruisers, she was seeing the 2023 model, she was seeing all those cars and started feeling discontented with what was going on in her own life.
Ó wá di pé ìgbà tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ tara rẹ̀ sí oṣù karùn-ún sí oṣù kẹfà, wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní orí àwọn ẹgbẹ́ ẹ̀ tó ń wa mọ́tò gbọ̀gìnì tó ń ṣe, ó wá di ẹni tí ò ní ìtẹ́lọ́rùn ní nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run fún.
The funny thing was that opportunity came and she was called to go back to one of the big companies. She's a risk manager, so she's chief risk officer. So she was opportuned to call back to come into a 9-to-5 employment, and she went back.
Àǹfààní wá yọ láti padà síbi iṣẹ́ tó ti ń sanwó. Ó jẹ́ ẹni tó mọ̀ nípa ti risk. Ó kúrò láti iṣẹ́ tọ́lọ́run fi fún, ó bọ́ sínú iṣẹ́ tí a ti ń sanwó oṣooṣù.
So me, I just called her up one and I said, "Ore, how far now?" And then she got the big car she wanted. Sure, you understand now? Certain positions at certain levels will come with certain benefits. There's nothing about it. I'm sure people must have read about the MTN CEO with the money, the dollars, and everything that is going on rampant. But she got that opportunity. She went back. She got the big car she wanted. She was discontented with. Maybe I don't know what she was driving at the point when she was working for herself. But she got the big car. She got the new office. She got the driver. She got the benefit. And then she went back to work with this other company 9-to-5.
Ó sì kúrò, ó padà sí ibi tó ti ń sanwó, ó jẹ́ ẹni tó ń wa káàbọ̀ gìnì, ó ní ọ́fíìsì tiẹ̀, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ohun mèremère.
When I called out, I said, Olaide mo ti fẹ́ kúrò. Today, Tuesday this week is really my last day. All that glitter is not gold.
Ó wá pè mí, ó ní ọ̀rẹ́ mo fẹ́ kúrò o níbi iṣẹ́ tí mo wà yìí.
You know, that's one of the things we have now. Contentment is a missing virtue that we currently have, is missing in the world of today.
Gbogbo ohun tó ń dán kọ́ ni wúrà, ìtẹ́lọ́rùn ó ṣe pàtàkì.
Yes, ìtẹ́lọ́rùn, exactly. So people are not contented again.
Àwọn ènìyàn ò ní ìtẹ́lọ́rùn mọ́.
When I got married into a one face me and slap you apartment.
Nígbà tí mo ṣègbéyàwó, ilé gbá mi lójú kí n gbá ẹ lójú, ibẹ̀ ni mo fẹ́ yàwó sí.
I was never used to it.
Ó jẹ́ ohun tí ò tiẹ̀ bá mi lára lọ.
Àwọn òde lágbálẹ̀ àláfọlẹ̀ in that my house when I was living there.
There was no person to come clean the environment.
So it is each room. The person in each room, whether you have your housekeeper, whether you have your house girl, whether it's yourself as the wife, whatever it is, you have to sweep. So there's always a roster. So Monday to Sunday, you have to come out and clean. And imagine you are cleaning bathroom for people. We have 2 toilets, we have 2 bathrooms, we have a kitchen, we have the passage, we have gutter, we have in front of the house, we have at the back of the house. And you have to do it.
Ní ti ilé yẹn, a ní roster. Bó jẹ́ ìwọ ni o, bó jẹ́ ọmọ ọ̀dọ̀ ẹni ìkànnì yín gbọ́dọ̀ jáde láti gbogbo ilé àti bathroom àti toilet àti gbogbo àti gutter iwájú ilé àtẹ̀yìn ilé.
You know, when you go to Rome, you have to be like the Romans. I can't bring an afole. I can't do so. Every morning before I go to work as early as 5 a.m., I'm already outside. When it's my turn, I'm washing the bathroom, I'm washing the toilet, I'm cleaning the gutter, and I'm sweeping the back. And the house has to be clean. So it's Monday to Sunday. Your roster may be every 2 months or every 3 months, but it was one of the things that I had to do.
Ó jẹ́ ohun tí mo ní láti ṣe láti nu ilé, láti gbá ilẹ̀, láti Monday sí Sunday.
You know, I was there for almost 5 years.
Mo gbé bẹ̀ fún bí ọdún 5.
I was there in that house for almost 5 years.
Mo gbé bẹ̀ fún
As
ọdún
I get
5.
back to my first and my second child in that house.
Mo bímọ kìíní, mo bímọ kejì nínú ilé náà.
But one thing I've learned with God is that when your wealth is God's way, He has a way. There will be challenges on the way, but He has a way of making a path for you where there seems to be none.
Ohun tí ó dá mi lójú ni pé tí ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ bá jẹ́ nípa ti Ọlọ́run, ìkùnà lè wà, ṣùgbọ́n ó ní bí ó ṣe máa ṣe fún ọ.
You know, one thing I've come to realize now is that my only competition is myself.
Ohun tí mo wò tó dá mi lójú ni pé èmi fúnra mi ni mo fara mi figagbága.
So I've learned that sori tó bá wọ ẹlòmíì wàá fẹ́ sáré kú ni o, wàá sáré kú ni o, wàá sáré kú ni o.
If you look at somebody else as your compass, you just continue running.
I think the only best person to look at is just focus on Baba God.
Ohun tó dára jù ni pé kí a wo Ọlọ́run.
We call him Sky Daddy, Abi. With the youth at the time, we call him the Sky Daddy. Focus on Baba God.
Ohun tó ṣe pàtàkì ni pé kí ìfojúsùn wa kó jẹ́ nípa ti Ọlọ́run.
You know, I was telling my Oga at the time, I said, I'm still talking about contentment, and I'm spending a bit of time in there because I think it's something that is very, very important, especially for we of this age and this time.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì, mo sì ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ìtẹ́lọ́rùn. Ìtẹ́lọ́rùn jẹ́ ohun pàtàkì tí a ti sọnù ní ayé ìsìn.
We don't have money for transport. I stay in Oworo then, and I'm coming to Akoka. So we would walk, we would walk from, there's a way that Oworo leads to Bariga. When you take the back, that's, when you take that behind, so we would carry my first child, we would walk from Oworo, we would walk to Bariga. And then from Bariga, we'll not take a bus from Bariga to Pako and walk to church. Mama and Baba Kitala were our pastor at that time.
Ó jẹ́ nígbà kan ní ìgbésí ayé mi tí mò ń gbé ní Òwòrò, mo sì ń bọ̀ ní ilé ìsìn bí. Wá bá ṣe fẹ́ fẹsẹ̀ rìn gbẹ akọ́nà àgbà oríṣiríṣi láti Òwòrò dé Bàrígà, ṣe wá wọ mọ́tò láti Bàrígà dé Pákó ká tó fẹsẹ̀ rìn wá church.
When we are going back home, we walk back to Bariga. You know the Olaide bus stop? We walk back to Bariga. Some things I can never forget. We walk back to Olaide bus stop. So we walk from here, we walk back to Olaide bus stop. We take a bus from Olaide bus stop and drop at the first dropping at Oworo. Bridge, the very first, we'll drop at and then we'll walk down home. Because we're living close to Bratoyin then.
Tàbá ń lọ lẹ́gbà yẹn náà, a tún fẹsẹ̀ rìn láti bí padà síbi bus stop Olaide, olórúkọ wọn náà ni. ká tó ṣàwá mú mọ́tò dé Òwòrò ká fẹsẹ̀ rìn délé.
You know, one thing I need us to understand is that getting wealth the God's way is what will give you that peace of mind that you can never get anywhere else.
Ohun tí mo fẹ́ kó dá wa lójú ní òwúrọ̀ yìí ni pé níní ọrọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run ó ń fúnni ní àlàáfíà àti ìfọkànbalẹ̀.
And you know, I've said it, wealth is not just money.
Mo ti sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ pé ọrọ̀ kì í ṣe nípa ti owó nìkan.
Having that peace of mind.
Níní ìfọkànbalẹ̀, níní àlàáfíà.
You know, one thing I always say now is that my peace of mind, I can never exchange for anything again.
Mo máa ń sọ wípé ìfọkànbalẹ̀ mi ò lè fi ṣe ohunkóhun.
So, to my youths, to my mamas, to my babas, social media is giving us a bit of zigzag. Money, money, money. Money, money, money. Money, money, money. But the question is it money made in God's way? Or is it wealth made in God's way?
Ẹ̀yin bàbá mi, màmá mi, àwa ọ̀dọ́, à ń lóríṣiríṣi lórí amóhùnmáwòrán, gbogbo ẹ̀ là ń wò nípa ti àwọn bó ṣe ń ní owó, ṣùgbọ́n ìbéèrè mi ni pé owó tí wọ́n ní ṣé ó jẹ́ nípa ti Ọlọ́run.
And to my sixth principle is keep records and budget.
Nípa ti ìlànà kẹfà, ó jẹ́ pé kí a máa ní ètò ìṣúná.
I can imagine if we did not have the Bible. Just imagine that there is no Bible.
Ká wá rò pé kò sí Bíbélì.
How do we then understand that this is what Christ has done? What actually makes our faith to be much more grounded if we do not have a Bible to refer back to as at this day?
Tó bá jẹ́ pé kò sí Bíbélì, báwo la ṣe fẹ́ mọ̀ ohun tí Jésù ti ṣe nípa tiwa?
I'll go back. Contentment is Hebrews 13 verse 5. Please
Nípa
note
ti
that.
ìtẹ́lọ́rùn ìwé Hébérù orí ìkẹtàlá ẹsẹ̀ karùn-ún.
And to keep records / budget is Proverbs 23 verse 23.
Ìwé òwe orí ìkẹtàlélógún ẹsẹ̀ ìkẹtàlélógún ó ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa pé kí a máa ní ètò ìṣúná.
You know, God looks at our hearts to commute wealth to us.
Olúwa máa wọ ọkàn wa láti lè fi àwọn ohun kan sí wa lọ́wọ́.
When He tests you with little,
Tí ó bá dán wa wò pẹ̀lú ohun kékeré,
He's ready to give you so much more because you are faithful in that little that He has given to
ó
you.
ṣetán láti fún wa ní ohun púpọ̀ tí a bá ṣolóòótọ́ ní ohun kékeré tó fún wa.
Sorry, I always do crazy things.
Mo máa ń ṣe àwọn ohun kan míì gbà míì tó ju òye lọ.
I always do crazy things. At times I do things that seems as if I'm insane. And I want you to interpret it the way I said it. Okay, ma.
Ìgbà míì mo máa ń ṣe ohun tó máa ń dàbí pé bí mo ya wèrè.
Exactly. And not the reason why is that when God has given you something, He has committed something into your hands to do, it defies all logical explanation.
Nǹkan tó sì yé mi ni pé tí Ọlọ́run bá fún ẹ ní nǹkan láti ṣe, ìgbà míì ó kọjá ènìyàn, ó kọjá èrò ènìyàn lọ.
You know, and then when you do it, and God sees that you are faithful in what He has told you to do,
Tó bá sì ṣe tí Ọlọ́run sì rí i pé ó ṣolóòótọ́ ní ohun tí ó ṣe,
He hands more over to you.
ó fi ohun púpọ̀ kún ohun tí ó wà lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀.
So how faithful are you in the little one that He has given unto you?
Báwo lo ṣe jólóòótọ́ sí ohun kékeré tí Olúwa fi fún ọ?
And that takes me to the seventh principle of
Èyí
making
mú wa lọ
wealth
sí
God's way.
ìlànà keje nípa níní ọrọ̀ ní ti Ọlọ́run.
And that is honor God with your wealth.
Bu ọlá fún Ọlọ́run nípa ti ọrọ̀ rẹ.
You know, it's very interesting. We are so selfish that none of us want to even give. Some people will say tithing is, why would you want to tithe? There was a lot of argument about tithing at a particular point in time.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọdún wa àti fúnni ní owó àti fúnni ní nǹkan ó máa ń ní wá lára. Ó ní ìgbà kan jẹ́ pé ìdá mẹ́wàá di ọ̀rọ̀ àríyànjiyàn láàrin Kristẹni.
I learned from one of my boss when I was in the audit firm.
Mo kọ́ ní lára àwọn ọ̀gá mi kan.
And you know what she said? She said, Olaide, I give 10% of what I want God to give me. So I give more than my salary. So you know when you get a salary of 100,000, 10% is 10,000 naira. But she says that I give more than that my 10,000 naira because I am looking at it and I'm saying, God, this is my goal. This is where I'm looking at. And she said that there's no time that she gives more, that Olaide, I give you that in the next 1 year, I get to that place and I have to move again.
Mo gbọ́ lára ọ̀gá mi pé ju ìdá mẹ́wàá tí mò ń tó yẹ kí n fún lọ, màá fún Ọlọ́run jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ torí mò ń lérò pé Ọlọ́run yóò bùkún mi jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
You know, we also need to honor God with the wealth that is given unto
Ó
us.
yẹ
or is
kí a
going to give
bu
to
ọlá
us.
fún Ọlọ́run nípa ọrọ̀ tí ó fi fún wa.
I've always, when you do crazy things, you get crazy results that are beyond your expectations.
Nígbà tó bá ṣe ohun mèremère tó ju èrò ènìyàn lọ, èsì tó máa gbà máa ju èrò ènìyàn lọ.
You know, There was a time we wanted to do something here, and I went, I think it was Bro Yemi that I told, and I went ahead and I had to do something. I was thinking, Olaide, like my parents were saying about me, my mom was saying, the way you change, my dad is from Iwo, so he said, it's always that you change, your system actually changes, and that's some of the things that you have to do. You expect extraordinary results from God, you have to do those extraordinary things. It is not just normal again. It is not just normal. You have to do extraordinary things to get that extraordinary things from God. Things that, and you'll be worried about yourself and saying that, Ejo, did I wake up from the right side of the bed today?
Ìgbà mìíràn ó yẹ kí a máa ṣe ohun tó ju èrò wa lọ, ó yẹ kí a máa ṣe àwọn ohun ńlá fún Ọlọ́run kí a lè gba èsì ohun tó tóbi látọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run.
You know, one of the things I'm always praying for God, you know, the funny thing is that if you all decide not to come to church today, if God has planned, God will bring people that this place will be filled up. And one of the fear I always have and I always pray about is that God, please do not replace me.
Tí ìwọ bá rò, tèmi bá rò pé èní o mi ò wá sí sínú ìjọsìn, Ọlọ́run yóò gbé àwọn èèyàn rere tí yóò wá ṣe ìjọsìn. Ṣùgbọ́n àdúrà kan wà tí mo máa ń gbà pé k'Olúwa má rọ́pò mi níwájú rẹ̀.
And there's nothing you do for God that he doesn't pay back.
Kò sì sóhun tí o ṣe fún Ọlọ́run tí kì í san padà.
So honor God with your words. Tithing you will see in Malachi 3:10-12, and giving you will see in Luke 6:38.
Kí a bọlá fún Ọlọ́run nípa ọ̀rọ̀ wa ní ti ìdámẹ́wàá ó rí ní ìwé Málákì orí ìkẹta ẹsẹ̀ ìkẹwàá sí ìkejìlá, ní ti fífúnni a ó rí ní ìwé Luke orí ìkẹfà ẹsẹ̀ ìkejìdínlógójì.
Okay, and the last principle is to have a personal relationship with God.
Òfin àti ìlànà tó kẹ́yìn ni láti ní ìbáṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run.
You have to understand how God deals with you.
Ó yẹ kó yé wa bí Ọlọ́run ṣe ń bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, bí Ọlọ́run ṣe ń bá wa lò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan.
Our grace are actually different.
Orí ọ̀fẹ́ tá a ní ó yàtọ̀ síra wa.
So you need to understand how God deals with you as an individual.
Ó yẹ kí ó yé mi bí Ọlọ́run ṣe ń bá wa lò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan.
You need to have that personal relationship and know Christ as your Lord and your Savior.
Ó yẹ kí o ní ìbáṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run, kó o mọ Ọlọ́run gẹ́gẹ́ bí Olúwa àti Olùgbàlà rẹ.
If you were at the Sunday school today, our Baba that spoke to us about Peter identifying Christ as Christ.
Tó bá jẹ́ pé ó wà nílé ẹ̀kọ́ ọjọ́ ìsinmi láàárọ̀ yìí, bàbá wa tó bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa Pétérù, nípa pé ó mọ Ọlọ́run gẹ́gẹ́ bí Kristi.
Please have, it is a plea, it is a begging. I can go on my knees and beg. Please have a personal relationship with God.
Mo ń bẹ̀ wá ní òwúrọ̀ yìí pé kí a ní ìbáṣepọ̀ tó dánmọ́rán, ìbáṣepọ̀ tó dára pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run.
Because that personal relationship with God will make you not do things that others would do.
Ìbáṣepọ̀ tí a ní pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run á máa tọ́ wa sọ́nà, kò ní jẹ́ kí o ṣe ohun tí ẹlòmíràn yóò ṣe.
How about to resign from a place of work when they said I should come and cook the books? That's the way we call it in accounting. They said I should come and cook beans.
Wọ́n ní kí wá fi èyí kún èyí nínú ìwé kan níbi tí mo ti ń ṣiṣẹ́.
And I had to take a bold decision and said that, you know what? I can't do certain things. And you will wonder that, no, like, that means you must have another job. Why you resign? At the time when I resigned, I didn't have any other job.
Mo sì ronú ọkàn mi pé mi ò lè ṣe eléyìí, mo sì fi ìwé lẹ̀, mo kúrò.
It's a very difficult situation, it's a very difficult decision to actually make.
Ó jẹ́ ìpinnu tí ó le fún mi nígbà náà, torí nígbà tí mo fi ṣẹlẹ̀ kì í ṣe pé bóyá iṣẹ́ kan wà tí mò ń bọ́ sínú ẹ̀.
But you know the beauty about it is that same oga, when somebody wanted me to do work for them, that same person went to that same oga to ask him questions about Olaide, and he said, no, Olaide is a very good person, no, she's very good. If you want to take her up, please take her up to do the job for you. That same person that told me to cook books.
Ẹni tó fẹ́ kí n ṣe ìwà ìbàjẹ́, ẹlòmíràn wá lọ bá pé ẹni ìbáwo ló ṣe jẹ́, òun náà ló tún sọ fún pé tó bá fẹ́ gbà á, èèyàn gidi ni.
So you need to understand that there are situations that will be difficult.
Ó yẹ kó yé wa pé àwọn ibìkan ìgbà kan máa wà tó máa le.
You know, we all smile, we all wear these clothes, we all come to church looking very beautiful, very radiant, but we're all going through our own different challenges.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú wa la wọṣọ tó dára, arẹ́rìn, ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú wa ló mọ̀ nǹkan tó ń bá fà nínú ilé.
You need to have that personal relationship. So it's not going to be Baba telling you what you have to do. It is you, yourself, understanding that these are things that I must not do.
ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa ohun tí a fi ń yé wa ní ọ̀rọ̀ yìí pé a ní ìbáṣepọ̀ tó dánmọ́rán pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run kí a lè mọ ohun tí a ó ṣe fúnra wa kì í ṣe ìgbà tí àwọn bàbá wa bá sọ fún wa pé báyìí ni báyìí kọ́ a gbọ́dọ̀ gbọ́ láti ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run fúnra wa.
In my ward, they call it, you don't eat pizza. That's what they call it in my financial world. You don't eat pizza.
Kì í jẹ pizza.
Exactly. So I was having a transaction, a call with someone one day, and then when I said, oh, this is the exchange rate we are using, and then the gentleman said, Olaide, how much should I put on top of the exchange rate? I said, no, Olaide, you don't eat pizza. Money, yes, I do not eat pizza.
Ní kì í bá wọn ṣe ìwà ìbàjẹ́, bó bá ṣe jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni.
So having a personal relationship with God makes it easier for you to make wealth God's way with peace of mind.
Níní ìbáṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run ó jẹ́ kó rọrùn fún wa láti ní ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run pẹ̀lú ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀.
That is the end of the sermon.
Èyí jẹ́ òpin ti ọ̀rọ̀ mi ní òwúrọ̀ yìí.
But I want people to understand something as individuals. Making wealth the God's way is really the best way you can ever get wealthy.
Mo fẹ́ kí ó yé wa ní òwúrọ̀ yìí pé níní ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ti Ọlọ́run ó jẹ́ èyí tí ó dára jù fún wa.
You know, I was at a training at a time, and then the guy said that 1% of the world actually owns about 85% of the wealth. It's very interesting. Let's imagine we are 20 billion or 1 billion or whatever billion we are in the world today. He said only 1% of that number owns 85% of the wealth of the whole world.
Wọ́n sọ fún mi nínú ibi kan tí mo ti lọ ṣe training pé ìdá kan nínú báṣepọ̀ tó yìí ló ní ohun tí ẹ kéèyàn bí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní.
So that means that having wealth, they might have made their wealth, maybe not in God's way. Some are there with their wealth, but they do not have the peace to actually live it.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ni wọn ló lè ní ọrọ̀ wọ́n lè má ṣe nípa ti Ọlọ́run wọ́n lè jẹ́ nípa ti Ọlọ́run àwọn mídẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ tó ní ọrọ̀ mi ní wọn kò ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀.
So please, my dear brethren, this morning,
Mo rọ̀ wá ní òwúrọ̀ yìí arákùnrin àti arábìnrin mi.
don't let social media deceive you.
Má jẹ́ kó ohun tí à ń rí lórí amóhùnmáwòrán lórí fóònù kó tàn wá.
Have you seen that video of that lady that went to pose in front of a house and they were in front of a car and everything, and then when she finished, she just wanted to enter a bike? That one was going around. Don't mind me, I also look at, because of the kind of people I work with, I don't have a choice but to also follow the trend and see what exactly is going on. And then she left, after posing with a very good car, she left and then she had to go and climb an Okada.
Torí àwọn tí mò ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ èmi náà mọ nǹkan tó ń lọ lóde a rí ti obìnrin kan ó ya fọ́tò níwájú ilé ó ya fọ́tò níwájú ọkọ̀ ó ṣetán ó gun ọ̀kadà kúrò.
So please, make wealth God's way.
Mo rọ̀ wá ní òwúrọ̀ yìí kí a ní ọ̀rọ̀ wa nípa ti Ọlọ́run.
That gives you the best kind of life you can ever
Ó fún wa ní ìgbésí ayé tó dára jùlọ tí a lè lò.
Now we are iPhone 15, abi thereabout. iPhone 15 Pro. I think it's about 1.7 million or thereabout. I think the list, because I get prices, the list of iPhone 15, I think it's about $1 million now. That's the list, about $1,000. That's the list now, and there's some that are about 1.7 or thereabout. I want to pose before I got one force me lane, but you are working for this money now. Let this money also work for you sometimes. Get some of these things. But even with that, you have to use common sense.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì pé kí a máa gbé nínú ìní wa.
So we need to be contented with what we have.
Ó ṣe pàtàkì pé ká ní ìtẹ́lọ́rùn.
Small girl, big daddy syndrome. We need to also understand that we need to make wealth God's way, not the small girl, big daddy way.
Ó yẹ kó yé wa pé kí a fojú sí òkè ká wo Ọlọ́run kó má jẹ́ pé ọmọ kékeré ni mìíràn wọn ní big daddy níbì kan jẹ́ kí big daddy wa kó jẹ́ Ọlọ́run àlàyé.
So I pray that the grace and power for us to understand and to give our lives totally to Christ and make wealth God's way. I pray that God will grant us all in Jesus' name.
Amen. Mo gbàdúrà ní òwúrọ̀ yìí pé agbára àti oore ọ̀fẹ́ èyí tí a ó fi fojú sí Ọlọ́run tí a ó fi ní ọ̀rọ̀ wa nípa ti Ọlọ́run Olúwa yóò gbé wọ̀ wá.